Rate cuts have been pushed further out. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee and let's check out this article from Yahoo Finance this time, discussing, well, rate cuts from the big four banks that are going to be pushed even further out. Now, for those of you, let's all think back and remember that the media was reporting that the RBA wasn't going to increase rates until 2024. Now, they were just taking one scenario that the RBA put out there and ran with it. And people believed it because, well, why would you bother going through RBA minutes? A normal person isn't going to do that. Why would you listen to the governor talking at the Senate Estimates Committee or yada, yada, yada? No normal person would do that. Sure, we do that on the channel because it's interesting content and, you know, financial gigachads need to know, but a lot of normies won't. They'll follow the headlines, they'll follow the news, they'll listen to Koshi. And then they get into a situation where they want to get into housing because renting sucks, and in Australia, everyone wants to own a house. It's part of our culture. And so they push themselves a little bit too far, and then bam, they're hit with 14 bloody interest rate increases. Now, if you look at this chart here, the cash rate target is similar to, well, the past, before the GFC. This is kind of what it used to be able to get money. When I was a kid, I remember getting interest. You would put money in the bank and you would earn interest from it. That was a thing. And for the last 2 decades, it really hasn't been. It's returning to normal. We're at normal now. Now, you're going to have people that have pushed themselves too far, are struggling a little bit with their mortgage, but they're going to do everything they can to hold on to it because you don't want to fall off the property ladder once you get on it here in Australia. Because I know people are hoping, they're anticipating a significant market correction. But we're not in a free market in the property sector here in Australia. Remember how the government uses construction to stimulate the economy during tough times. What do you think is going to happen if we start seeing significant falls in property brought about by a recession? What do you think the government will do? What is the precedent that has been established? Market intervention using the construction sector, because it's a very effective way to stimulate the economy. They don't give a shit about special interest groups. They want to use them for economic stimulus, and that's the point. That's why it's smarter from a government perspective, if your goal is to stimulate the economy, to incentivize private people and businesses to do construction through small amounts, like the Home Builder Grant, than it is for the government to engage in building their own projects. For the government spending 15 grand on social housing, they get 15 grand worth of social housing. When they spend 15 grand stimulating private individuals, they get 10x of that, 150 grand worth of construction. That's the whole point. So there's one argument showing how, if we start seeing significant corrections, there's going to be support for it. People are even shocked that property prices haven't collapsed in Melbourne. And okay, sure, they've gone down a little bit. But you need to compare them to other cities. Compare it to Brisbane. Compare the relative prices in Brisbane to Melbourne. Brisbane is looking, we're all property geniuses here now, guys. We all bought, if you bought 10 years ago, you bought strategically, not blind luck at all. But Melbourne and Brisbane, well, relative to Brisbane, Melbourne prices have gone down significantly. So that's how you have to look at it, guys. So let's have a look at this, because there are some people that are waiting with bated breath for rate cuts to probably make life a little bit easier. But I think they'll still do everything they can to hold on, because you'd be crazy not to. I mean, you probably pushed yourself a bit too far. But how many years can if you do it tough for 5 years, it's going to be worth it in the long run, isn't it? Westpac has joined the NAB in shifting its prediction for the first interest rate cut from the Reserve Bank of Australia. Until recently, the Big Four all forecast the RBA would provide millions of homeowners mortgage relief at its first meeting of 2025 in February. So here's the thing with all of these bank predictions, guys. They always are moving goalposts. We've got an economy is a complex, emergent outcome of a bunch of almost infinitesimally. Is that the word I want to use? Well, it's an emergent outcome of almost innumerable amount of various factors that we can measure, usually only after the fact. We've got limited controls and interventions in them, but so many things playing a part that it's hard to predict the future of this. It's emergent. And here's the thing. The goalposts will change. They always change. You don't want to bet everything on a headline. And here again, what if you were holding out? What if you were holding out for February, going, okay, we can go to February, then rates will cut, and you're imagining it'll drop significantly when it's only going to be 0.1 or something, and it's been pushed out again to May. However, 2 of the big 4 banks now believe that moment will come in May. NAB nudged its projection last week, and Westpac has now followed suit. Will we see? Well, here's a question for the viewers. When do you reckon, guys? Do you reckon we'll even see a rate cut next year? Will we see a rate cut, or will it push out until November? Will we be having the same conversation in 2026? While that might not be the news many had hoped for, there is a silver lining. We have revised our view of the most likely scenario for the path of the RBA's cash rate, but more front-loaded than previously assumed, Westpac economist Lucy Ellis said. We now expect consecutive 0.25% rate cuts at the RBA's board meetings in May and July. That would follow a similar pattern to what we've seen from international peers, including the Federal Reserve and RBNZ, and mark an acceleration from our previous forecast of 1 cut per quarter. Okay, so they're predicting, what are they predicting? Tougher economic times, everyone, then, with more rate cuts. With more rate cuts. Let's have a bit of a chat about this one, eh? So, I mean, we have to appreciate that there are going to be some people that are doing it tough. There are going to be a lot of people that are doing it fine. And I think those at greatest at risk are the people who push themselves beyond their limit at the height of the mania for property during the pandemic, and may be at risk of losing their employment. This is the K-shaped economy, guys, that we're seeing here. And the question is, will it be a significant enough number to satiate the property calamitous that are expecting a huge correction? I'd bet a Carlton that it isn't. I don't think it will be. I think there'll be some media hoo-ha, but as much as we hear about, Aussies don't even have $1,000 in the bank, or, they're struggling, there's always going to be a segment of our population that are destitute or just terrible with money, or have financial circumstances brought about beyond their control. There'll always be a percentage like that. The media will focus on that. Agencies, organizations, charities will focus on that to gain political benefit. That isn't the norm. That isn't the majority. The articles that we're going to be reading over the next few years will be skewed more towards the negative. You can do something positive, it gets less traction than something negative. That's just how we're like. I don't think it's going to be as bad as people are anticipating. And, well, you just got to find a way to struggle through, everyone. Anyway, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one. I'll see you next time.